In the small African town of Kadu, there lived a doctor named Kojo. Dr. Kojo was no ordinary doctor. He was a man whose heart was as big as the baobab tree that stood in the middle of the town. Everyone loved him because he was kind, gentle, and always ready to help. Whenever people fell sick, they would rush to Dr. Kojo's small hospital, a place that felt like a second home to many. Pregnant women came to him with their swollen bellies, and Dr. Kojo would smile and say, "Don't worry, my sister. You and your baby will be fine." And he meant it. Dr. Kojo didn't care much about money. In fact, most of the time, he didn't even charge his patients. If a woman came crying because she couldn't afford to pay, he would shake his head and say, "Life is more important than money." People whispered that he was like a rare gem, shining brightly in their little town. The women in Kadu said that Dr. Kojo had magic hands because no matter how difficult a birth was, he would handle it with ease. "Ah, that man," they would say, "he's a gift from the gods." And so, pregnant women came to him not just from Kadu, but from the nearby villages too. Life in Kadu was peaceful, and everyone believed that as long as Dr. Kojo was there, nothing bad could ever happen. Little did they know, a storm was brewing far beyond the horizon, one that would test the very heart of their beloved doctor. And so, the story of Dr. Kojo begins. One day the skies over Kadu seemed heavier than usual, as if they carried the weight of bad news. Dr. Kojo's heart was restless, though he didn't know why. When he returned home that evening, he found his mother lying weakly on her mat, her breathing shallow like the whisper of a fading breeze. "Mama!" Dr. Kojo rushed to her side, his voice trembling. "What is wrong? Why didn't you tell me you were feeling unwell?" His mother, an old woman with a face as wise as the moon, looked at him and smiled faintly. "Kojo," she said softly, "you worry too much. It's just old age catching up with me." But Dr. Kojo was no fool. He checked her pulse, felt her forehead, and listened to her chest. Something wasn't right. Her heart sounded like a drum missing its rhythm, and her skin was colder than the morning dew. That night, Kojo couldn't sleep. He sat by his mother, watching her breathe, his mind racing. He had treated so many patients, brought so many lives into the world. Yet now, when it was his own mother, he felt helpless. The next morning, he made up his mind. He called the elders of the town to seek their advice. "My mother is very sick," he told them, his voice heavy with worry. "I have done everything I can, but her condition is beyond me. She needs to go to the big city, to the best hospital there." The elders nodded, understanding the weight of his words. One of them, Baba Adu, said, "Kojo, you have done so much for this town. Whatever you need, we will support you." But the journey to the city wasn't the problem. The problem was the cost. The hospital in the city wasn't for ordinary people. It was where the rich went when they fell ill. The bills there were as high as the tallest mountain. Kojo sat quietly that evening, staring at the stars. "How can I save my mother?" he whispered to the night sky. His heart felt like it was caught in a trap, and the pain was deeper than the sharpest thorn. Even as he tried to think of a solution, his mother's faint voice called out from inside the house. "Kojo," she said, "don't worry about me. You've already done so much for everyone in this town. If it's my time, then so be it." But Kojo couldn't accept that. He shook his head and said, "No, Mama. You are the reason I became a doctor. I will not give up on you." And so, Kojo's journey to save his mother began, though he didn't know how steep the road ahead would be. The next morning, Dr. Kojo woke up with a plan. He had to raise the money, no matter what. He started by visiting his closest friends, explaining his mother's condition and asking for help. His friends, who loved Mama Kojo like their own mother, gave what they could, but it wasn't enough. Then he turned to the villagers. "Please," he pleaded, "my mother's life is in danger. Any little help will go a long way." The people of Kadu were kind, but they too had their struggles. Some gave small amounts, others gave nothing, only offering prayers instead. "Ah, Dr. Kojo," one old man said, shaking his head, "we wish we could do more. You've done so much for us." When the borrowed money wasn't enough, Dr. Kojo made a difficult decision. He started charging for his services. For years, he had been the town's guardian angel, treating people for free. Now, he had to ask for payment. "I'm sorry," he told the sick and the pregnant, "but I need to keep the hospital running." At first, the villagers understood. "Kojo needs the money for his mother," they said. But as time went on, their understanding turned to whispers. "Why is he charging us now?" they asked. "Didn't he say life is more important than money?" Gradually, the once crowded hospital grew quiet. People began avoiding it, choosing to suffer in silence rather than pay. They forgot the kindness doctor Kojo had shown them for years. They only saw the man who now asked for money, not the son trying to save his mother. Dr. Kojo, sitting alone in his empty hospital, felt the weight of their betrayal. But in his heart, he knew he had no choice. For Mama Kojo, he would keep trying, even if it meant losing the trust of the very people he had always helped. Dr. Kojo sat outside his hospital one afternoon, the sun burning hot above, but his heart felt colder than the harmattan wind. The empty hospital and the whispers of the townspeople weighed heavily on him. It was as though the very people he had cared for had turned their backs on him. As he stared into the distance, lost in thought, a voice called out, "Kojo, is that you?" He looked up to see Kwame, an old friend from his university days. Kwame was dressed in fine clothes, his shoes shiny like polished ebony. His face was full of smiles, but Kojo could see something sharp in his eyes. "Kwame," Kojo said, surprised but glad to see a familiar face. "It's been years." The two friends caught up on old times, sharing stories and laughter. But soon, Kojo's smile faded. His heart was too heavy. "What's wrong, my brother?" Kwame asked. "You look like a man carrying the weight of the world." Kojo sighed deeply and told him everything about his mother's sickness, the empty hospital, and the money he couldn't gather. Kwame listened carefully, nodding with a thoughtful look. Kwame said after a moment. "There's a way, Kojo, but it's not for everyone." "What do you mean?" Kojo asked, his brow furrowed. "There's a man," Kwame began, his voice low. "He pays large sums for special things, baby placentas. He sells them to people in the city who use them for medicines and charms. If you can get him what he wants, he'll pay you enough to take your mother to the best hospital in the world." Kojo's eyes widened. "Placentas? Kwame, that's unthinkable. Those belong to the mothers, to the babies. How can you even suggest such a thing?" Kwame shrugged, his face calm. "Think about it, my friend. You're already losing your hospital. The villagers have abandoned you. This is your chance to save your mother. Isn't she worth it?" Kojo shook his head, horrified. "No, Kwame, I can't do that. I'll find another way." But as Kwame left, his words lingered in Kojo's mind like a shadow that wouldn't go away. The days grew darker for Dr. Kojo. Mama Kojo's condition worsened, her breaths coming slower, her voice weaker. He sat by her side, holding her hand, and prayed for a miracle, but no miracle came. His debts piled up, and the villagers, once full of smiles and gratitude, now avoided him like a plague. Even his close friends turned away, their excuses cutting deeper than knives. One night, as Mama Kojo lay coughing, her frail body trembling, Kojo sat outside the hospital, his head in his hands. Kwame's words returned to him like a drumbeat he couldn't ignore. She's worth it. Isn't she worth it? The next morning, with his heart heavy like a stone, Kojo went to Kwame. "I'll do it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kwame smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "You've made the right choice, my friend. I'll arrange everything." That week, Kojo delivered a baby for a young mother at his hospital. As the baby's first cries filled the room, the mother smiled, her face glowing with joy. But Kojo's heart felt like it was breaking. He wrapped the placenta in a separate cloth, as he always did, but instead of handing it to the mother, he set it aside. He replaced it with a bundle of rags wrapped in nylon and gave it to her. "Here, my sister," he said, forcing a smile. "Go bury it, as our customs say." The woman took the bundle without checking, her happiness blinding her to the truth. Later that night, Kojo met Kwame in a quiet corner of the town, giving him the placenta. Kwame handed him a fat envelope filled with money, more than Kojo had ever seen. "This will take care of everything," Kwame said. Kojo took the money, his hands shaking. As he walked back home, he kept telling himself it was just this once. Just one time to save his mother. But deep in his heart, he knew he had opened a door that might never close. Dr. Kojo wasted no time. With the money he had received, he quickly arranged for Mama Kojo to be taken to the city's largest hospital. It was a long journey, but Kojo stayed by her side, holding her hand and whispering, "Mama, you'll be fine. Just hold on." In the city, the doctors examined her and began treatment immediately. The hospital was filled with machines and medicines that Kojo had only read about. Day after day, Mama Kojo grew stronger. Her cough lessened, her voice returned, and soon she was sitting up and laughing again. "Kojo, my son," she said, tears in her eyes. "You've saved me. May the gods bless you for your sacrifice." Kojo smiled, but deep down, her words felt like a thorn. She didn't know the cost of her recovery, and he prayed she would never find out. When they returned to Kadu, the town welcomed Mama Kojo back with cheers and songs. The villagers, who had turned away from Kojo, began to warm up to him again. Feeling relieved and filled with gratitude, Kojo returned to his hospital. He told himself it was time to go back to his old ways, offering free treatment to the people who needed it most. Pregnant women, hearing that the kind doctor had returned, flocked to his hospital. They came not just from Kadu, but from nearby towns as well, bringing their swollen bellies and their hopes. But behind Kojo's warm smile and gentle hands, a dark secret lingered. Every time he delivered a baby, he carefully took the placenta and replaced it with a bundle of cloth. "Here is your placenta," he would say, handing it over with a kind smile. The mothers, overjoyed by the safe birth of their babies, never thought to check. Some women carried the fake bundles home, burying them according to tradition. Others simply tossed them away, thinking nothing of it. And all the while, Kojo's secret remained safe. Dr. Kojo's hospital became busier than ever. The sound of crying babies and the laughter of new mothers filled the air, and people once again praised him as the town's savior. But not everyone was blind to the truth. The midwives who assisted Kojo began to notice small inconsistencies. One midwife, Auntie Amma, frowned as she cleaned up after a delivery. She muttered under her breath. Why does the placenta always disappear so quickly? And why does the bundle feel lighter than usual? Another midwife, Tosin, noticed that Kojo was unusually protective of the placentas. He always insisted on wrapping them himself, never letting anyone else touch them. Doctor, she asked one day, why don't we let the mothers handle the placentas directly? It's their tradition. Kojo smiled, his voice calm and reassuring. Ah, Tosin, you know how sensitive some mothers can be. I just want to make things easier for them. But the midwives weren't convinced. They began whispering among themselves, piecing together the odd things they had noticed. One evening, after a long day of deliveries, Auntie Amma sat with Tosin under the big mango tree outside the hospital. Something isn't right, Amma said, her voice low. We've been midwives for years. We know how things should be. But this is strange. Tosin nodded, her face serious. I think we need to watch Dr. Kojo more closely. Whatever he's doing, it's not what it seems. And so, the midwives began to keep their eyes open, their suspicions growing with every birth. Dr. Kojo, still smiling and gentle, had no idea that the shadows of doubt were creeping closer to his carefully guarded secret. Auntie Amma, the most experienced midwife in Kadu, couldn't shake off her growing doubts about Dr. Kojo. The way he handled the placentas, always in a rush and so secretive, gnawed at her mind like a mouse nibbling at grain. One afternoon, during a delivery, Auntie Amma decided to observe more closely. As the baby was born and the mother cried tears of joy, Kojo quickly reached for the placenta. His movements were smooth, almost practiced, as he wrapped it in cloth and placed it on a nearby table. Doctor, Amma said softly, pretending to be curious. Should I hand this over to the mother? You seem tired today. Kojo gave her a warm smile, but his eyes were sharp. Thank you, Amma, but I'll take care of it. It's my duty to make sure everything is perfect. Amma nodded, but she wasn't convinced. Over the next few weeks, she kept a close watch, noticing every small detail. Each time, Kojo found clever ways to avoid her questions. He would distract her with tasks, send her out on errands, or simply charm her with his reassuring words. But Amma's curiosity only grew. Something is going on, she whispered to herself one night, and I'll find out what it is. One quiet night, Mama Kojo couldn't sleep. The moon was bright, and the stars twinkled like diamonds in the sky. She decided to visit her son at the hospital, thinking they could share a cup of tea and talk. As she walked toward the hospital, she heard voices. Mama Kojo paused near an open window and recognized Kwame's voice. The buyers are pleased, he said. They want more placentas. You're doing well, Kojo. Mama Kojo's eyes widened. Placentas? Buyers? What is he talking about, she thought. Dr. Kojo replied, his voice low. I don't want to continue, Kwame. I did this to save my mother. It was supposed to be only once. Kwame laughed softly. But look at all the good you're doing now. You have money, your mother is healthy, and the women get free care. Everyone wins. Mama Kojo felt her heart break into tiny pieces. Her son, the kind doctor everyone loved, was doing something terrible. Tears rolled down her cheeks like little rivers. Unable to listen anymore, she stepped inside. Kojo, my son, what have you done? She cried. Dr. Kojo spun around, shock written all over his face. Mama, what are you doing here? How could you? She sobbed. Stealing from the mothers who trust you? This is wrong. You must stop. Kojo's face hardened like stone. "I did it for you, Mama," he said sharply. "I had no choice. Without the money, you wouldn't be here." "But at what cost?" she pleaded. "This is not who you are. Please, my son, stop this before it's too late." Anger bubbled inside Kojo like a boiling pot. "I can't stop now," he snapped. "You don't understand. If I quit, everything will fall apart." Mama Kojo reached out to touch his arm, but he pulled away. "Kojo, listen to your heart," she whispered. "Choose the right path." But Kojo turned his back on her, his mind a storm of confusion and pride. "Go home, Mama," he said coldly. "This doesn't concern you." With a heavy heart, Mama Kojo left, her tears falling like rain. She prayed that her son would see the truth before it was too late. The next day, Dr. Kojo felt like a tree bending under the weight of many branches. His argument with his mother haunted him, and guilt gnawed at his soul like a hungry termite. "Just one last time," he told himself. "I'll do one more deal, and then I'll stop forever." That afternoon, a young woman named Essie came to the hospital. She was ready to have her baby, and Dr. Kojo prepared for the delivery. Auntie Amma was there too, her eyes sharp and her mind set. She had told the other midwives about what she had seen, and they agreed to help catch Kojo in the act. As the baby was born, cries filling the room with joy, Dr. Kojo repeated his usual routine. He wrapped the placenta quickly and set it aside. But this time, the midwives were ready. "Auntie Amma, could you hand me the placenta?" Kojo asked, trying to sound casual. "Of course," she replied, but instead of giving him the real one, she handed him a bundle she had prepared herself. Kojo didn't notice the switch. He took the bundle and moved toward his office. The midwives followed quietly, signaling to the village chief and a few elders who were waiting nearby. Just as Kojo opened his secret box to place the real placenta inside, the door burst open. The village chief, the elders, and the midwives stood there, their faces filled with shock and disappointment. "Kojo, what is the meaning of this?" the chief demanded. Dr. Kojo froze, the placenta still in his hands. His face turned pale like ash. I can explain," he stammered. "There is nothing to explain," Auntie Amma said firmly. "We trusted you and you betrayed us all." The villagers gathered outside, whispers spreading like wildfire. "What's happening?" they asked. "Isn't that Dr. Kojo?" The chief shook his head sadly. "You have done a terrible thing, Kojo. Stealing from the mothers who trusted you, lying to everyone. This cannot be forgiven easily." Tears welled up in Kojo's eyes. "I never meant to hurt anyone," he said softly. "I just wanted to save my mother." Mama Kojo stepped forward from the crowd, her face wet with tears. "Oh, my son," she whispered. "I begged you to stop." The village elders huddled together, discussing what should be done. Finally, the chief spoke. "Dr. Kojo, you must face the consequences of your actions. You will no longer serve as our doctor, and you must return all the money you gained from this terrible deed." Kojo nodded slowly, his head hanging low like a wilting flower. "I understand," he murmured. The villagers felt a mix of anger and sadness. They had loved Dr. Kojo, but his betrayal cut deep. As he walked away from the hospital, the sun setting behind him, Kojo knew that he had lost more than just his position. He had lost the trust and love of his community. From that day on, the story of Dr. Kojo served as a lesson to all in Kadu town, that even the kindest hearts can be led astray, but truth and honesty must always guide one's actions. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.